All right.
All right. As Nicole said, I'm Stacie. I am not anonymous. If I can help you in the best ways, that's what I'm here for. My sobriety date is May 30th, 2017. My drug of choice was alcohol and Adderall. I have a husband that I've been with now for 22 years, 2 children, 2 grandbabies. So growing up, I grew up in Charleston area with my mom and my stepdad who raised me. There was always alcohol around, always drugs, pills, marijuana, all that. So it was no big deal for me to see it on the day-to-day. My biological father, let me back up some, was in the Air Force. So that's how my mom and him were originally from Ohio. They moved down here. When I was 8 months old, my mom and my biological dad divorced. So that's when my stepdad came into play and raised me. I didn't know my biological dad till I was 8 years old. But getting back to a younger age, it wasn't nothing for me to see alcohol around the house. I think I tasted my first beer at the age of 5. I had a little brother, which our mother henned him a lot. But my mom and my stepdad used to get physical because of the alcohol in the house. And there was times where I can remember taking my little brother across the street to what we call our grandparents, our safe house. And the cops would get involved, my grandmother would get involved, and we'd have to go stay with her for a while. And then she ended up somehow or another getting custody of me. I still don't know how, with her being my step-grandmother, but I'm grateful for that. Until my mom and my dad could actually go through the AA program and all that, and then things would be good again. We'd be the happy little family, and then it would turn back to the same bullshit. Can I cuss?
Of course.
Okay. If not, you're gonna have to read it. But anyhow, so it would be the same thing over and over. It's just like the disease. It's the insanity part of it all. So when I was 13, well, I met my biological dad at 8 years old. Went and stayed a couple summers up there. My mom and my stepdad finally just said, they're done. So she moved in with some other guy. I didn't like him because I was the rebellious teenager. So I decided, okay, we're going to give dad a try now. So mom, I didn't like what mom had to say, so we're going to try dad. So I went to Ohio and stayed there for a couple years. I snuck out with my older stepsister, drinking, partying, coming in late at night. And of course, my stepmother, God bless her soul. Anyhow, I'll put it to you nicely. But that's when she introduced me to the AA meetings, and that was not the Alcoholics Anonymous, that was the Attitude Adjusters. That didn't work. So even with her trying to basically, I guess you could say, tell me how to, I'm trying to think of the right word. Not so much restrictions, but kind of try to help me get a handle on things. It wasn't working. So then I moved in with my grandma and my cousins. And still, the partying kept going on and on and on. And I can remember on my 13th birthday, we all went to like a beach area, did a picnic and all that. I ended up going back home with my stepmom at the time. And her best friend's son molested me. And that took a turn. It kind of made me go further out with my addiction at the time. So I ended up telling her about it. And she's like, you're a liar. He would never do that. Tried to cover it up. Tried to tell my dad that I was nothing but a troublemaker, which in all ways I was. But at that point, I was not lying about what had happened. And my dad says, I think it's just too much. I think you need to go back home to your mom. Mm-hmm. So once again, here I am, passed from pillow to post, going back and forth. Mm-hmm. And said, okay. So I ended up coming back home. I stayed dry drunk, I guess you could say, for a couple of years till I hit 16, and then it was off to the races again. Drinking, partying, smoking dope, a couple pain pills here and there. Pain pills just wasn't my thing. I was never a downer. And then I ended up getting married to my first husband, had a beautiful daughter, but it still wasn't enough to hold me down. The alcohol was still there. But then his and I's relationship, it was more physical than anything, and he kind of tried to mind control you, and I was just like, I wasn't having it. And when he put his hands on me the last time, I told him that was enough. I'd had it. I just couldn't go through it no more. I grew up in all the physical assaults. I wasn't going to have my daughter going through it. So I ended up divorcing him, and before my divorce was over is when Jay and I got together, and I didn't have full custody of my daughter yet. Well, because I wasn't fully divorced, they proved that I was kind of like an unfit mom because I had Jay in and out of the house, all that. I ended up losing part custody of her. Granted, he's an amazing guy, but Jay is not the other one so much. But anyhow, I ended up divorcing Lance in May, and I married in August. And we had our rough spots, the chaos and all that. And, he decided that he was going to go on his meth bender without me knowing and getting pulled over. And I'm like, no, that can't be right. He's not on meth. I covered up for him. No, still not. And all this, and it caused a lot of chaos between him and I with his drug, with him going through his drugs and me going through mine. And I can remember us fighting in the kitchen so bad. I was like, yo, at least mine's not off the street. Mine's prescribed. That's going to make it better, And he's like, Stacie, it's still the same damn thing. And I'm like, don't stop. Mine's prescribed. I've actually got a prescription, and with the drinking, I would never get, if I had my kids, let me back it up. If I had my kids, I would never get too intoxicated because I had to be there for them. I was the role model. I was the mom. Mm-hmm. But the Adderall, that didn't stop me. I could stay up all night. I could take care of them. I could take care of my job. I could take care of my mom, my dad. I could do it all as far as that went. But it got to a point where I was tired of feeling like that. Jay I ended up helping Jay get into the nest, and we were separated for like two and a half years. And he called me out of the blue, and it sounded so good. And I was like, okay, I'll let our son JJ go up there and just see him with his mom. So JJ come back, and Jay never put anything in his head as far as how he was doing. It was more like, Dad's changed. It's a dad that I haven't seen. And I'm like, I'm going to go check this shit out anyhow first, because I got divorce papers. I'm going to serve him with it. So I get there, and it was my old Jay, and it was a glow that I had not seen. And I was like, something is going on with this man. And so I sat him down, and we had a talk, and I put the divorce papers back in the car. I was like, let me just, curiosity kills a cat, and it killed me. So I started talking to him, and he's like, yeah, I'm working the steps. And I'm like, what kind of steps? And start listening to him with the recovery and all this. And meanwhile, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to feel my down. Let me get my pill, pop it, we'll be good. And so just the glow he had, it was different. So I was like, maybe I'll just stick around for a little bit. Maybe he's bullshitting me, maybe he's not, So 60 days went by, he was in there, and I'm still starting to see this glow. He was like, I'm doing good. You can take me home. Da, da, da. I said, no, you're here for 90 days, buddy. I'm getting rid of your ass for 90 days. You're staying there. And I'm grateful that he didn't listen, and he did go the full 90 days, because he supports me 100% with my recovery today. So his first AA meeting outside of the nest, I was his driver, and I took him over to the Step Up because he didn't have a license, and I left there that night in tears. It was a speaker meeting, and I'd heard exactly what I needed to hear. It was the hopelessness that the gentleman had felt, the serenity that he had around him, Like everything it was like a magnet drew me to the story. And I left there in tears. And Jay's like, well, did they say something wrong to you? And I'm like, mm-mm. They said everything they needed to say. So we went back, or later that night, I said, I don't know what I need to do, but I need to do something because I'm feeling that hopelessness. I don't even know what the hell hopelessness means, but I'm feeling it. Like, I need something different. And he's like, well, the only thing I can suggest you do is pick up that white chip and get a sponsor. I said, well, I'm not getting a sponsor yet, and I'm not picking up that white chip until I know I'm ready. So we went back and, well, let me back it up. Because I went into a gas station that was right down from us. And I was talking to one of the ladies while Jay was in rehab. And she was asking me how he was doing. And I was like, well, he's doing good. He's actually doing rehab. And Christy, who was actually working the counter back there, because they do a lot with recovery, or at the time they did. She's like, oh, recovery? Wait a minute. Ping! Like her antennas went up. She said, when he gets out, tell him to call my boyfriend. I was like, and who the hell are you? Like, no, I don't know you like that. And so anyhow, I called Christy when I left the step up that night, and I said, I need a sponsor. I said, I need somebody who's going to take me through whatever steps they're talking about, whatever program it is, I need it. I said, I've got to be disciplined. I've got to know what I need to do. So she says, okay. She says, well, do you have any alcohol in your house? I'm like, duh. And she's like, what about your Adderall? I said, man, I just got that filled. And I was like, yeah, I got plenty of that. Why? What's up? She says, you're going to dump it. I said, what? She says, yeah, you're going to flush it. And at the time, they had that little app, Marco Polo. I don't know if y'all remember that or not. So I'm like, okay, Marco Polo and her. And I'm like, all right, here they go. And I'm flushing the toilet. And I'm like, fuck. I literally just lost my whole stash. Like, shit. Now what am I going to do? She says, you're going to hang up the phone with me. You're going to go pour out the liquor and don't take a sip. And tomorrow we're going to start working on steps. And I was like, okay, cool. So I did all that and got back to the club. And she's like, you're going to read the first 164 pages. She was the first one who bought me my big book. She's the first one who told me to read my first 164 pages. If I was serious about it, I had to read them. And I'm like, I'm not a reader, but okay. So I start looking, and she's like, highlight anything that sticks out to you. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And by means, the first week was the hardest, because that focus program just went out the window with all my shit down the toilet, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm having a hard time focusing. Coffee ain't working, and, so I was like, I'm okay. I can do this. So it took me a while to get through that book. And then when I did, our times for the steps went meeting up. So I said, well, it's okay. I can find another sponsor. It's not that serious. I'm not married to this sponsor, so I'll find another one. So I ended up finding my second sponsor, and she took me through the 12 steps, which I was grateful for. And she was having some issues with her husband at the time, and Jay and I was helping her clean out her house, trying to get it on the market for her house to be sold, because her husband was a tweaker as well. And the shit we found in the house and all that, we managed to get it sold for her, help her get it sold, I should say, because I can't take all the credit. But meanwhile, in that sponsor had done me some serious damage. Seeing I'm being recorded, I really don't want to go too much into detail, but it was a lot of damage done. She did something that any sponsor should have never done with trust. So then I found my next sponsor, and I love her to pieces. I've had her since then. But had I not have been spiritually fit, it could have took me back out. I'll put it that way. It was a big betrayal. But today I look at it as more of, I had tools that I could pick up out of my tool bag and use. It wasn't that I had to go back out and use over it. I relied on the program on it. But the step one of it all was, I've had to fully surrender. I had to give it all. And it just wasn't fun anymore. The alcohol, the Adderall, it wasn't fun like it used to be. It was more of a chore that I had to do. So when I finally surrendered to this program with my all, and I said I'm gonna jump in with both feet, And I'm gonna hit the ground running because I gave Adderall and drinking all. Why not give the program, try and change it?
Yeah.
So I went through the steps, and I had to fully tell myself that I was the true addict and alcoholic. And it took me a while not to be ashamed of it. And today I'm able to say I am the true alcoholic and addict, and I am in long-term recovery. Step 2, I always knew that there was a God. My grandma took me to church every Sunday, so I knew there was a God. I was just upset with him for the way my life had gone. So it took me a lot of forgiving me to forgive God, I guess you could say. And then step 3, I made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as I understood him. Well, I call my God, my higher power. He never leaves me. I talk to him as if he's my best friend. Step 4 is when I came and I put everything on paper. I'd already did the damage. Why not just own up to it? And when I say I owned up to everything, it was back from when I was a child to the time I did my steps. And today I do a 4-step once a year to make sure that my side of the street stays clean. I don't need no dust up on my street. I don't need nothing. And I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. 5 was admitting to another person. Oh, that was rough, but I did it. So I was afraid that I was going to be judged, but by the time it was all over with, it was out on the table and there was no taking it back. Because she took my sheet of paper, she says, I need your paper because you're not going to go back and you're not going to say, well, you did this. No, you wrote it down. I was like, okay, we can do this. And then 6 was the defects. Oh, I did not want to give them up. Oh, it took me forever. I was like, it took me 30-something years to get these things, and they're mine, and I'm going to own them. But today I'm able, I've got some good character defects, and I've got the bad character defects, and I work on those daily still. A lot of people say I'm prideful. Well, to a certain degree, I'm prideful when it comes to my recovery. And I'm allowed to be prideful. I'm allowed to be selfish on my recovery. I'm prideful to help somebody else out to make sure that their recovery is going good. And then, humbly asked them to remove our shortcomings. It took a while for that one. And then made the list of the people we had harmed. Like I said, I'd already done that. So I just had to get it out. And I make a living amends to my mom every day. I did so much damage to my mom, it was unreal. I can remember of taking every penny out of her bank account and blowing it. And today I'm able to be the daughter that she deserves. 10, 11, 12 I do every day. If I'm keeping what was freely given to me, then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do as an alcoholic and addict. I have to give y'all what was given to me freely. So, because if not, I'm just going to end up back up in self. And I'm grateful that the people I've met along the way. So, especially in my network, my dad and Jay's dad, we lost them 5 days apart. And had it not been for this program to keep us both intact and the outreach from it, it was amazing. We had people calling us every hour on the hour, asking us, making sure we didn't need nothing, the people showing up to the funerals. They didn't even know neither one of them. I mean, it was truly amazing what this fellowship can do. And I don't even call it a fellowship. I call it more of a family type thing. Because I know at any given moment I can call Nicole. Granted, sometimes she has her phone on Do Not Disturb, but I can call her and be like, yo, I need you to call me back ASAP. This is what's going on. And she's there. It's people like her that suit up and show up for us. So, and I'm grateful for her. So, but that's what I have.
All right.
Thank you.